There are those who dream of a better world. Those who strive to climb higher, swim deeper, and venture further than the rest. We call them Da Vinci's. We marvel at their genius and are awed by their unbreakable spirit. Here they come. Stand back and watch as they inspire the human race by living a Da Vinci life.
What's up, guys? It's Rusty Johnson for DaVinci Life. Thanks for dropping in. Man, what an incredible morning. I just got done talking to Mario Andretti. Yeah, the race car legend, Mario Andretti. You know, growing up through the years, I got pulled over a few times and had the police always accuse me, who do you think you are, Mario Andretti? And that always intrigued me because he's such a world famous name. And overall, not just for racing fans. Because I'm not a giant racing fan. It is cool as hell, but I'm not always, looking on the TV to see who's winning or to see who's losing. And I think there's a lot of people like that, but they know Mario Andretti. And why is he just so overall famous? And I think I figured it out. After talking to him for about an hour, I figured out he is just cool as hell. He's just cool as hell. And when I say cool, I don't mean that he does what's trending, he does what people want him to do. That man is just comfortable in his own skin. And even though he seems almost larger than life, superhero type of guy, when you talk to him, he's just a humble person, man. Really humble. I mean, not only this guy was a winner, he totally just revolutionized the entire racing game through all the years he's been in it. You'll see later I ask him about his cars, what you can imagine what cars Mario Andretti has in his garage. But he's like, oh, well, I got a 88 Bronco. I do have a Corvette. But he's got a lot more than that, man. So I threw in some video on what he has in his garage. But there was so much more to learn about him. Aside from just being the racing legend. Do you know he's got a twin brother? But also, too, he was a refugee. As a childhood, he lost everything. Came over here and saw the Statue of Liberty and started his life all over again to build the empire that he has today. And dude, it's an empire. Wait till you see his house. His house is just insane, man. So I think it is just that he is not only the racing legend that he is, but he is Mario Andretti, immortalized in pop songs, no less, because he's so cool. He's so humble. He's so nice. He's so down to earth. See for yourself. Enjoy the racing legend, Mario Andretti.
The man, the myth, the legend, Mario Andretti. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks, Rusty.
Such an honor to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Years ago as a kid, when I get pulled over by the police and they accused me of thinking I was Mario Andretti, I never thought I'd actually meet you.
You were that naughty, huh?
No, just a few times. I learned my lesson very quickly.
Yeah, that's good.
It got expensive.
Yes. That's how you learned a lesson quickly.
Many people, really the world, knows you as Mario Andretti, the racing legend. But in reality, the first 15 years of your life before you came to the United States, for most people, that would have been a lifetime of experience that you went through, especially during the war. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and what it was like there before you came to the United States. Well,
as you just said, I was born right at basically when the World War II broke out, 1940. The region where I was born, actually, after the war, just became sort of became a zone of contention as far as Italy having lost the war. So again, where I was born, it was the far northeast of Italy. The region was the peninsula of Istria, and after the pact in Paris, Italy lost that area. That it was determined by the French, the Brits, and the U.S. And so for us, it was a matter of if we wanted to maintain, which we did, the Italian citizenship, not succumb to hardline communism under Yugoslavia at the time, Marshal Tito, there was a choice: remain, give up everything to the state, or just leave with what you could carry and become a refugee in your own country. So that's really what happened to us in 1947. It was basically decision time, and so from basically 1948 to 1955, we were in a refugee camp in Lucca in Tuscany. With there were maybe about 2,300 people in that area from that region primarily. And again, things were not very well, after the war for a long time in Italy, as you can imagine, unemployment and so on and so forth. And my dad was trying to make the best of things. And we had an uncle on my mother's side that had immigrated to America way back in, I think, in 1911, something like that. And he's the one that at one point we kept correspondence. So he suggested to my dad, I said, why don't you come to America? And then, I will guarantee, which you had to do, guarantee that you will have a job or whatever, in order to obtain visas. And so 1952, my dad applied for visas. And 3 years later, the visas came through and we had to go. And that's it. And we had to go through physicals and everything. And then the stamp was on there. Okay, time to make a decision. My dad said, I said this a million times. My dad said, okay, we're going to America for 5 years and then come back, just to soften the blow, if you will. But as kids, my twin brother, Aldo, and myself, we had an older sister, but ourselves, we became enamored with the sport of automobile racing because Italy was such a big player in the sport. When Formula One became official in 1950, and 51 was the first world champion, which was Italian Nino Farina, Alfa Romeo, and then later on, Alberto Ascari, again, Italian, Ferrari. As kids, we just, gravitated to that. And so our dream was to become race drivers in Italy, so we didn't really want to move to America. But anyway, when we arrived in America, we discovered there was motor racing in America as well, and so America won't be so bad after all. And 2 years after we arrived there, we started building a car with 4 other buddies, to race locally. And there happened to be, some racing right here in the town of Nazareth, where I still live today. At the fairgrounds, it was a typical, dirt track racing weekly, and so that's it. 4 years after we arrived here, we were on a racetrack and winning some races, my brother and I. And what's interesting, actually, when you go back, when I go back to my career, is the fact that I was at the grassroots of the sport at the time. And there was so much yet to be learned about the technology of everything, that whether it was engines, whether it was chassis dynamics, aerodynamics, and so forth. And when I got to the top level of the sport, which is basically by 1964, then a lot of things just began to happen and it continued to be so fascinating for the next decades because then manufacturers got involved. Obviously there was much more investment in the sport, and then it's competition, and with competition, what do you have? You have innovation, and I happen to be part of so much of that, which to me it was something that I would never trade for anything in my career. It allowed me to appreciate actually what we have today. And how we arrived there. I was part of the race tire development as we know it today, not just race car, street car development with Firestone early on in my career. And then part of, just experiencing new engine configurations, when turbocharged engines just started in a racing car. Then it was later on, because of its efficiency, all of a sudden you have it in the street cars. Manufacturers just proceeded with that. And aerodynamics, the same thing. It was just something that we started to nibble on it late, early in the mid 60s and actually right toward the end of the 60s, and then in the 70s, things started taking over, and we learned more and more and more. And then, from my standpoint, when I was in Formula One, because one thing or another, we discovered ground effects, how to take advantage of the airflow in a single seater, not just on the surface of the car, but also underneath,
in the bottom.
To create the low pressure, where the car would actually speeding up the flow of air underneath. Obviously, the car all of a sudden, would be like an inverted wing, like an aircraft. You do it the opposite, would be like an aircraft turned upside down. And so all of these things that, became very fascinating, as you can imagine, for me. Again, these are all things that today are pretty much, by the younger generation taken for granted, obviously, because all of that is there now, and but I went through it. In Indy Car, actually, and I know I'm rambling on, but in Indy Car, actually, our team was the first team to experience the computer instrumentation in a race car, where you start to give feedback to the engineers through telemetry. And we were doing a test at Romeo Proving Grounds in Michigan, Ford's Proving Grounds, which all of a sudden they started, putting a number of data on what deflections, everything else that up to that point were just estimated by engineers. So a lot of these things, again, were just extremely fascinating to me.
Wow. Now, Alberto Ascari was really one of your idols. What did you take from his racing that you brought over to what you do?
Well, why does a person become your idol? Because there's some things that impress you, such as how cool he was, seemed like under pressure, and how the press would depict him, as a driver. I used to have ice in his veins and all those things. So, as a kid, so, oh my goodness, so all those things are the things that while you're dreaming, that's who you would want to emulate. So someday I want to be Alberto Ascari. Someday I want to be world champion and all that. And that's it, but as a kid, you're allowed to dream. And I was dreaming plenty, but as life went on, a lot of my most ambitious goals and dreams started coming true, and that's the blessing that I can say I've had throughout my life and my career.
And being so diverse, because you're one of only 3 people who've actually won Formula One, Indy Car, as well as the sports car championship and NASCAR. I mean, that's like the quadfecta. Why such diversity?
Actually, because I was curious, that our sport, motor racing, is very rich sport in the sense that we have various disciplines that you could just specialize in one discipline and be totally satisfied with your career, and many are. I had opportunities, to move around, and I always expressed my interest, and whenever I would be invited, perhaps, to do something else at the top level, like even go to NASCAR or whatever, I would jump to it, because actually the reason I was invited is because I expressed the interest there,
Right.
and I think, you earn your way in the sense, you try to do well in the area where you're specializing, and then, somewhere along the line, somebody say, hey, how about trying this? Yeah, I'm going, I'll do it, and so on and so forth. So I derived the most satisfaction in my career out of really moving around and experiencing the different, as I say, the diversity of what our sport has to offer.
Did you get any pushback from other racers at different classes? Like they wanted you to fail, or was it like, oh my God, Mario Andretti wants to race with us, please?
To be honest with you, on the overall, I got to look at the positive. I can't say that I was accepted in open arms, but as time went on, I developed friendships everywhere, and again, it's all about respecting others and then earning your respect, quite honestly. And that doesn't happen just immediately. But at the same time, I can walk the pits, the paddock, anywhere. I can do that in Formula One. I can do it in NASCAR. I can do it in sports cars. And I have friends everywhere. I've had people that I've worked with no matter where I go. And I was so fortunate to have a long career and basically uninterrupted. So I'm one of the really lucky ones. And again, to answer your question, okay, did everybody, oh yeah, we're glad you're here, but I don't know if it was meant sincerely, but at the same time, quite honestly, overall, as I said, the friendship that I have are very precious to me. And said earlier, I wouldn't change a thing, quite honestly.
Now, there was a point in your career where you started taking more of an aggressive stance, like AJ Foyt. What made you do that?
Well, you obviously want to progress, as far as, you're learning every day. And where are your sights? Your sights are at the top. If you're going to dream, if you're going to have goals, might as well be the ultimate, the most ambitious goals. And by doing that, you look at the people that you have to deal with. I mean, the drivers that I had to deal with to be able to achieve those results. And that always, that becomes, really what, creates your desire, creates your, everything that, what you need, the drive that you need, to work harder and harder. The better the drivers, the people that you're trying to best, that's what makes you a better driver, better person, because you're going to work toward that. You admire that certain person and you figure, you know what, I like to be like that or even better. And you're not going to achieve that unless you really work very hard at it. And that's what you do. And ultimately, that's where you derive the satisfaction.
In 1969, during your Indy 500 practice, you got in a pretty fiery crash when you hit the wall. Devastating crash. I saw the video. It's amazing you even survived it. You got burns on your face. 2 days later, you had to do a photo shoot.
Ready to go with the other car.
How'd you get around that?
Well, that was easy. I had a twin brother. We were identical and they looked like me. So I said, Aldo, about standing in for me. And he did. And, quite honestly, not too many questions were asked, even by the other drivers. I don't think they were a little bit baffled, but it's incredible that, that photo is still being sold in the gift shop at Indianapolis.
I love it.
So Aldo sat in there for me.
Speaking of Aldo, God rest his soul. I heard he recently died of COVID complications in December. The dynamic between your relationship. Now, I venture to guess extremely competitive on the track. Is that where it ended?
Well, here's the thing. Aldo and I started this, the dreams together, early on. And we were captured by the same thing, by the same interest. And it was for real, it was for real. We both, like I said, had same ambitions. And Aldo, unfortunately, was not as lucky as me. It's how do you explain things like that? I don't know. We both, again, wanted the same thing, but he got hurt at the end of the very first season, which pretty much determined his career in the long term, because he took a sabbatical. He had to take a sabbatical then, but he raced for 10 more years. And in fact, it was in '69, right after Indy, that he had the big accident in Des Moines, Iowa, in a sprint car that actually ended his career. But here again, because of that, Aldo and I did not race together. We raced in maybe 2 races in the sprint car together, but we were going different ways. And again, of course, when he came out of the cockpit, that was it. And he lived his dream through his own kids by supporting me 110%. And, the beauty about Aldo, all along that it was a fact that he never showed, oh, yeah, you're so lucky. This is never felt let you, never acted like a victim, so to speak. He figured This is life. This is the way it is. I'm a good businessman and so forth. And I lived that dream that, that did not come at a reality through my kids, through my son, John, and then, of course, now, and Adam, and then he has a 3rd generation too, and Jared Andretti. So, but again, Aldo lived a good life, happy life, and one that, when I look back at all of it, as my brother, it just makes me smile, because that's the way he was. He was always very positive.
Seems like you guys had a wonderful long journey, even back from the days of sneaking your father's wine and passing out at the bottom of the steps at 5 years old.
Man, you're well informed, Rusty.
I do my research, and it's easy on you. You're such an interesting character. But yeah, that was, I love that story. But basically, your father would just drink it out of a funnel, right? And at 5 years old, you copied the same thing.
We were watching. He was tasting his barrels, barrel of wine and so forth, and we'll just give it a go. And we were down in the cellar, and we got buzzed, and so we fell asleep at the bottom of the steps. And I think they had a posse there looking for us. They didn't know where we were until they looked downstairs. There we were. We had to sober up at 5 years of age.
That's a good start. Oh my God. Oh, that's hilarious. Now, how did your life change once you won the Indy 500?
Well, it's a great moment in any race driver's career, no question, because of the magnitude of that event. But I looked at championships, that I think launched my career, my life in so many ways. My rookie year in Indianapolis, Indy Cars, 65. I won a national championship, the youngest one to do that at that time. And I won another championship later. And I was, I won races and so forth. And Indy was something that you almost had to do career-wise, to feel, because you're unfairly judged your career by your performance in Indianapolis. And so I consider that a big weight lifted off my shoulders. And almost, and like I said, it's a great event and a privilege to be part of it, and from that standpoint, yes, it's huge because after that seems like a lot more opportunities come along,
Mhm.
but on a personal level, I look at the championships, that I put together and so forth, is really my, my biggest, treasures, in my, my trophy case, if you will.
And that's quite a trophy case. Oh my God, your house is absolutely incredible. I was saying
I'm very
to
proud of that, as you can imagine, because over the years you gather so much stuff and everything, and then you look back and everything there just reminds you of a moment, of a, as I say, a precious moment, in your life, your career that becomes very rewarding, if you will. And so again, it just represents work, I guess.
my gosh, that house is just full of memories and it's beautiful. My wife is an immigrant as well, but she immigrated 2 years ago from Peru. She's from a very poor area of the Peruvian Amazon, and to look in that walkway of your house and what that looks like, she said it's like what she would picture heaven to look like. And then afterwards, she found out that you drove around in your race car with Lady Gaga. So now you're an official legend. Aside from the racing.
Yeah, it was interesting with having Lady Gaga, to start the race, the 100th anniversary of the running of the Indianapolis 500. Actually, that's what it was.
Oh, very cool. Through all this, have you ever feared for your life? Been in some type of situation that you just thought, all right, it's ending?
Rusty, that the danger factor, and especially when the safety was not what we're enjoying today in those cars, and losing too many close friends along the way. You think that you'd have to be thinking about that, but you try not to dwell on it. If you're going to dwell on that negative, I think you need to do another job.
Yeah.
I think you maintain the confidence and the hope also that it's not going to happen to you. I mean, how do you control that? But you're driven. I was driven by such passion that nothing was going to deter, my desire to be in a race car. Nothing. And that's it. I knew that how my wife, how the people, the family closest to me, how they always felt, there's always this tension, that you will have, just like me, even watching my own kids out there. But at the same time, as I say, when you're driven by such love and passion for what you're doing, you're just going to do it regardless. And keep praying and hope that you're going to get some help from upstairs, along the way. And I think I got plenty of that so far.
How vital to your success was the support from your wife, Ann?
Oh, Deanne was amazing. Every day I have so much time to reflect, and just how good she was for me. She was so much better for me than I was for her in that respect, because the best part, the way I can sum it up, is the fact that never ever did she ever make me feel like, okay, you're selfish, and all that. You only think of yourself, think of your career. How come we're not having any picnics on Sundays, like normal people and all that? Never that. Never. And that was so important for me. And she just kept me grounded too. There was not like a ticker tape parade if I brought a trophy home, and the opposite, if I didn't. Everything was just even Steven. I got the same welcome, the same kiss, and the same everything whenever I came back home. And the other part is, we made the best of it, with the family. We traveled with the family pretty much all over the world together as well. So there were some experiences there that were, part of the sport, which were total positive, I would like to think. So I suppose we tried to look at just the positive side of it, really, and that's what kept us going. But, going back to how important she was for me, I could never even express, just how true that is, and how, the level of peace of mind that she gave me and everything else that I needed.
What was the most difficult part of coping with her loss after being married for over 56 years?
Yeah. 56 years is, it's almost a lifetime for anyone. And, it's a big void, no question. Just have to keep thinking of all the good things that we had together. That's all you can do when you lose someone as close to you. And that's it. I mean, I come back, thinking of her like, and I smile because, of all the good things that we had together.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. You say this sport is the most exciting and the most cruel. And you see that with so many of the accidents, Earnhardt, there's just so many losses of the greatest drivers in the world. How was dealing with the death of Ronnie Peterson during the 78 Grand Prix? How'd that affect you at that moment when you were right there?
I mean, Rusty, you go back, just put it in this context. I lost, a great friend, a teammate at the time when I realized the ultimate dream of my career, to win a world championship, and I clinched that at that point. And certainly could not celebrate. So that was, the double-edged sword was there. And when you lose someone that close, and I've had, Billy Foster, I had some drivers that were really close friends to me, like brothers type of thing. Billy Foster, a Canadian, was one. We lost him early on. And it's, you look back and a lot of my thinking was, oh my goodness, how's the end feeling? She sees the widows, that have lost their husband, and I'm still around, but how would she feel, if I was gone and all that? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that, going on. And but again, when you lose someone, it's things are never the same. It's loss is a loss. It's a void, and the closer you are with the person, the tougher it is, quite honestly, as you can imagine, obviously. But again, those are tough moments. Tough moments, as you said, as rewarding. The sport could be along the way. The sport could be extremely cruel, no question about it.
Through the decades, it's really become a family business now. Like your son, your grandson, nephews as well. Now, outside of the track, how important is family to you? I've noticed that your dining room table is about as long as a racetrack to begin with, so I think I know the answer.
Well, yeah, the answer is, of course, as you say, it's family is really, really totally important. And as you mentioned, even now that Deanna is gone, we keep the traditions that were very important to her. The one thing that she always insisted on is, and she would say, I don't want to hear anything else. I don't care where you are in the world. Certain holidays we're going to be together, and we continue a lot of that. I think, if anything, with Deanna gone, it brought the kids even closer, to me, which is, again, it's a beautiful thing, quite honestly. And I take so much pride in just having a great family all around, with my brother, my sister, their families. I think there's a lot of love there, and I think that's all you could ask for. Yeah, we have good families that are staying together and they're strong together.
Beautiful. Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
Are you kidding? No.
Because you didn't speed, or because you're at Mario Andretti?
No, because I didn't reckless drive. That's one thing that, and that's one thing that I will not do on the road, and put anybody in danger. Did some speeding, but by the time you reason it out with the officer, I said, okay, at least I didn't put anybody in danger, and they've been very kind to me. So I've been very lucky in that respect. Truthfully, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Never got a speeding ticket.
That's incredible. But, I see that, though. I've spoken to a lot of racers and very extreme sport type people, and they save it for the right time and the right place, the professionals.
That's the thing to do. And like I said, okay, sometimes, you kind of, you let yourself go a bit, but as long as you don't put anybody else in danger, I think, not that it's acceptable, but, sometimes you kind of, you lose, you lose fact of, of your speedometer.
Oh, yeah. Now, after the decades of the winning and the fame, what was your feeling when you crossed the finish line for the last time?
Well, it's tough. It was tough. In fact, I was thinking Deanne probably would be really, really happy, and I think she was deep down, but she also knew how I felt. And she told me, so Mario, I think you might have had at least a couple of years under your belt yet. But kind of that made me feel a little better. So that's why I drove another 24 hours of Le Mans after that, and keep my hand in it, So, but I can only be thankful for my career and having had the opportunity to really come out of the cockpit on my own terms, not be forced out, for all the reasons that we were talking about. And again, so I got to look at that, but the passion and the love for the sport has never left me. I still, in my own way, I'm still driving, I'm still dreaming, I'm still driving a race car, you know what I mean? So I'll forever be a driver, in my own mind anyway. But
you still get on the track nowadays at all?
Oh yeah, I'm on track. I think on my shoulder, right? See the race car that you see underneath. Yep. That's a two-seater that I drive. Just at every race, an Indy Car race, and then I'm the first one to start the race, to just go. But I give rides. I give rides to fans, to the press, and some celebrities and all that, almost everywhere. And I'll be in Indianapolis. I'll probably do as many miles as any driver out there, because I'm out there every day for a couple hours, and then and on and on. So I'm still active.
You left out an important detail, Mario, and that is you give rides to passengers at over 200 miles an hour.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, of course. That's what makes it interesting for me, and for the passenger, I suppose. The beautiful cars, well prepared, that I do, and just having fun. Fun, and as you can see, it's what I feel I need at this point of my life, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
What's the favorite track to race on?
Anywhere, to me, I never really said this favor or not. To me, it's every track has its particular challenges, and I embrace that and go for it.
Why do you think NASCAR has gotten so popular lately?
Well, there are a lot of reasons. I mean, it's great sport in every way, no question. And they've, I think, navigated the waters pretty well, as far as creating a fan base, especially, when Indianapolis, the series, Indianapolis series was, the predominant series in America, then politically it started going sideways and NASCAR jumped in there and they became mainstream and they have really navigated the waters really well. So again, they have a great product. And so, like I said, it's incredible what they built, as far as the series. And again, it's I think Indy Car is beginning to pick up a lot of what they lost. I mean, as far as there was a lot of confusion among the fans, for a few years. I don't know if it'll ever reach a level that it had before, in the early 90s. But nevertheless, it's motor racing in general is very, very popular, very strong, and it's at a good place. So that's the important thing.
How's it feel to win? And does it ever get passe or boring?
No, it's winning is not the only thing. Not everything. It's the only thing. And that's what Vince Lombardi used to say. And quite honestly, once you start winning, you don't accept anything else. It's the ultimate satisfaction. Oh gosh, just got to win. You just got to win. You got to win again. You have to experience that again and again. Trust me, it's hard to put it into words.
What's the physical toll that racing takes on a driver?
Well, that's what a lot of people don't realize, quite honestly. And that's, going back to the two-seater they were talking about. I think when people, some of the, fans or whoever rides with me, they come away with a totally different perspective of what the race driver goes through and the demands because of, and they're in the back just riding, but many, like just this last race in Texas, one of the riders that was behind me, he said, "Oh my goodness, we only did a lap and a half, and these guys have to do 248 laps tonight with 24 cars around them." You know what I mean? It just and then the G-forces and all that, and we got on the road course. Oh my goodness, they have to do 80 laps of this, like that. You know what I mean? And even some athletes from other sports sometimes says, "Oh, motor racing, what the heck?" Because I drive 500 miles one day to go see, and my aunt, and I'm not that tired. You know what I mean? It's because it's such a non-participant sport, and even if you go to a racing school, you're never going to be anywhere close to the speeds that the pros are doing, and you're not going to experience that. But I have a racing, a racing school that you can drive a race car by yourself, and you get some individuals, they'll buy like 8 laps, and they come back and they say, "Oh my God, I have cramps in my hands." You know what I mean? It's more physical than a lot of people think. And let's put it this way: if at the end of that race, at the end of that event, you're totally spent physically, what does that mean? It means you're working pretty hard. Yeah. These drivers come out of there. I've come out of, certain races. I'm not a big person physically, but I lose 2, 3, 4 pounds, of liquid weight, and that means, I don't lose that much shoveling snow, so, you know what I mean? It's just, you do physically, you use every inch of what you can give, throughout the race. And each race is different too. A lot has to do with ambient temperatures and how much effort you have to put into the driving of the car, how well the car is handling, a lot of factors. But overall, like I said, if you finish a race, you come out of there, you're not tired, I guarantee you didn't win.
Yeah. And that's not to mention the mental toll, that hyper-focused concentration the whole time.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's both, obviously, it's, and all of them require just a different degree of concentration and all of that. So some of the races that are not as physical as others, it's got the mental aspect, so you got tension and so on and so forth. When, you're driving like 500 miles, you're never under 200 miles an hour, okay, you better pay attention, type of thing and all of that. So, yeah.
What type of car you drive today on the street?
Oh, I have several different cars. I like sports cars. I treat myself, and just move around different cars. So 01 Corvette. I have an 87 Ford Bronco. I have some nice cars in my garage.
I can only imagine. Now, what have you discovered about life after racing?
Well, I discovered that life must go on, and you find challenges. I have plenty of challenges ahead of me. I continue to work with some of the companies that had been working. One to mention is Firestone, and there's always some demand somewhere. My plate is always full. I follow the sport very vigorously and intensely because that's what I love. And again, we have many challenges in a couple of businesses that we have going, even as a family. And challenges continue. And I pursue things that I actually enjoy doing.
Yep. Do you still have the winery?
Still have the wine. Well, the winery became a challenge through this the fires, the Sonoma, and the pandemic that closed us down, and so that's in peril, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, things are good. However, overall, our businesses are doing well, and so hopefully we're coming out of this pandemic and these lockdowns, and get back to normal.
Yeah. Well, Mario, you're absolutely a legend, a gentleman, and it's been an honor talking to you. I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me.
My pleasure, Rusty. Thanks for having me.
I'll still be keeping track of you and keep up the good work and spreading this wonderful sport of racing that we have.
There you go. Thanks.
A DaVinci Life.